Joining the panel now, Independent MP Dai here in the studio. Thank you for your time.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen.
Housing is going to be a big issue. Look, it's tricky, right? It's multifaceted. There are long lag times. What do you make of Labor's approach overall, and why the situation doesn't appear to have gotten better as yet?
No, I mean, look, I started door knocking the start of the year, and people told me, and on my streets in Western Sydney, energy prices, insurance price, the rise in insurance, as well as rental affordability and interest rates. So this is start of the year. I think that the focus has not been in terms of addressing supply, and we talk a lot about affordable housing or social housing, but the middle Australians, I think there's no reprieve for them in terms of the interest rates. That has kind of gone up 12 times, and that has added a lot to people's obviously hurting their hip pockets. So I think, and then in addition to it, the supply chain, everything has increased. The cost of building materials has gone up as well. The lack of labour shortages, all of that, and I don't know if the government has taken that into their policy of building 1.2 million homes.
It looks like they'll miss that, and so we kind of get to like, what do we do? The coalition says superannuation, which is, it fires up demand. They're also talking greenfield, so build further out. Labor's sort of talking social affordable housing.
Well, I think there's no one solution, but I think I was looking at a few options. One is looking at, for instance, GST. For instance, how can there's how do you tap into the GST part of the building, industry? The cost of material can, the tariffs of the building materials. How do you, reduce that? In terms of workforce shortages, how do you, get the labour side of the workforce, kind of increase that without adding cost to all of the building materials and the increase in wages? There's so many things, but I think part of it is the GST. Part of it is...
Just take it off, you reckon?
Yeah, absolutely. I think take GST off, especially for first home.
Yeah.
First home builders.
Yep, sure.
Absolutely.
What do you think of the government's electoral reforms? Obviously, they've been called anti-independent. You're an independent. You're a bit different from some of the other independents who get money from Simon Holmes Accord. What's your view of them?
Look, I think that from my perspective, I spoke about it last week in Parliament, that when I ran, I had none of the backings of the big names. I invested my own money, and it cost me in total about $180,000 to run that campaign in May 2022 for posters and all that stuff. What I found was quite concerning was the money that got given to incumbency. So myself and all the other current MPs will benefit from this public fund.
Yeah, they're lifting it.
That's right, they're lifting it
funds.
Exactly. And also the administrative fund that we're going to get apparently $30,000 each to administer our seat. So we thought, well, we'll be in a privileged position to have this financial support, and yet if you're an independent, if I started and I had nothing, how am I going to do it when I'm going against somebody who's already there, established, and also have the support, the public funds to actually run the campaign? So that on that basis alone, I just felt that it wasn't a fair electoral reform. Of course, we need to be more, transparent, and that's what we all stand for. But why we're pushing that now, when I think there's so many other bigger issues at play, which is the cost of living, which we're not addressing, housing shortages, which we're not addressing, the critical issues to the economy and to society we're not addressing, what we're looking at electoral reform.
Speaking of the cost of living, we've heard from the Treasurer, inflation figures, they're tracking in the right direction, things are on the up. What feedback are you getting from your community when it comes to the cost of living, and how do you think the Labor's gone overall in terms of making life easier for Australians?
Well, I can tell you from my door knocking, and I've door knocked many suburbs from Carramar to Cabramatta to St John's Park, they're from more affluent to working class communities. The issues they have predominantly raised with me is that Labor have just they're very frustrated with Labor, and a lot of them were Labor voters who said, we're not going to vote for Labor. And I thought, well, you didn't vote for me last time, that means. But they're not going to vote for Labor at the next election because they have seen the skyrocketing, costs in energy bills. Their energy bills have gone up a lot. Petrol, car insurance, house insurance have gone up. Rent, people who rent, they have to live with, increasing rent. And so a lot of them have said to me they have to work 2 or 3 jobs now just in order to make ends meet, in order to survive, and they're not saving at all.
Christina Keneally was your opponent last election. Labor parachuted her in.
Yep.
This time you've got Tu Lee, who is a local.
You only need one Lee, you don't need 2. You need the original Lee.
You got the OG. You got the original. But
look,
Tu Lee, she actually ran for Labor's seat. She didn't. Well, no, she wanted. Sorry, she wanted to run. She put her hand up.
Yeah.
But the central office obviously parachuted Christina Keneally.
Yeah.
Is it going to be harder for you up against a major party, but a candidate who's genuinely from? She's from your area. She's a local.
She moved in there a few years ago, so she didn't grow up there. But look, at the end of the day, for me, is about having a voice that's not part of the major parties. Having a voice, and I think the community would see that I have been advocating and fighting all the day after the election, raising issues that are in particular cost of living. I would say I was one of the first in this house to raise the issue of energy bills, of fuel increase, and all of this stuff at the time when the government was talking about the voice. So I think that for me, it's about the Labor Party, what they've done for the community in terms of addressing the cost of living, high interest rates, housing affordability, and for me, that is what the people are actually focused on.
Do you have a view about the release of the remaining members of the Bali Nine? Some of them originated from Western Sydney.
No. Is that part of the, if they're from Western Sydney, you mean in my electorate, from my
I'm not sure. I was just trying to research at them, but my recollection is, and I've seen they were from Western Sydney. I wondered if there'd been any advocacy to you or...
No.
Do you have a view? You were talking about the government's priorities, though, not being on the cost of living. Do you think it's a fair priority for the Prime Minister to lobby the Indonesian president, as he has, to have them released?
Look, I think if you go out into the streets of Western Sydney, what the people talk about there, they don't talk about, what we don't talk about here. We talk out there is about cost of living, food prices, house prices, rental affordability, fuel, tolls, hospitals, health. That are the things that people talk about.
What about the social media ban? Has that been raised with you?
Actually, the misinformation and the social media ban are the 2 in the 3 years that I've been there. I don't receive campaign emails at all for many issues, but these 2 constituents have emailed me, which was surprising. And also because I'm on social media, so they will be messaging me. So please do not vote for it. Please do not vote for it.
On the social media age ban?
Yes, as well as I call the MAD bill, misinformation and disinformation bill.
Dai, got to leave it there. Plenty to talk about it. We'll touch on it next time. Thank you.